Happy Monday, my fabulous vibers. Welcome back to my podcast where I believe that every woman deserves the freedom to craft the life she wants and the guts to go after it. We will share stories, facts, and opinions on various aspects of life to give you that kick in the ass to light you up and spread killer vibes every day, 24/7. Today, I am joined by everyone's favorite guest, my husband, Rusk.
Hello, glad to be back.
People love to hear your perspective, honey, and especially on the topic that we have going on for today. We can give people a little bit of feedback on why we love traveling and why we're such passionate travelers. And I think it's something that we talk about, but I don't think they've heard us in this perspective. And what we're going to be talking about today are going to be travel deals and steals. And then I'm also going to be giving you guys 5 hacks for packing because I'm a pro at packing. That's one of my strengths.
It's very efficient.
It's very efficient. And I think after, 20 years of traveling, I've really felt like I've honed it down and made it like super efficient and boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Get it out. So
become a Hall of Famer at it.
Yeah. So, we always get questions like, how do you guys decide where you're going? How do you guys decide how you're getting there? Why do you guys go on this airline? Like sometimes they ask us, you guys always go just on United, or do you guys ever try anything else? Or, we get so many questions. I get so many DMs on travel like, hey, I love your travel pictures. I wish I could travel that way. How do you guys make it look so effortless? How do you guys make it look so easy? And I think there's a few things that we can talk about today that we can give as pointers and deals and steals that we've learned along the way that have made traveling so much easier for us, a quicker process, just things that we've learned, I think mostly from trial and error, and just kind of like going back to true ways of traveling and the way that we like to do it, whether it's domestic travel or whether it's international travel. We really do enjoy the whole process. And I think Rusk has a background, and you're going to guys hear a little bit about that because he does have a background in travel, and he'll tell you a little bit about that. But I want to start off with something you mentioned when we were doing a little brainstorming, and you mentioned that you like to work backwards when you start your travel plans. So tell me, what does that mean? What does it mean when you say you work backwards?
Right. So first of all, I had actually, like you had mentioned, I do have a little bit of background in travel. During my college years, my parents used to own a travel agency in the latter half of the 90s. So I would spend my weekends and my off hours off campus helping my parents out, manage a travel agency, sell airline tickets, sell cruises, sell packages, book some exotic stuff. And that's kind of how I learned where a lot of people went. But I've always had a curiosity for other cultures, kind of like an anthropological kind of mind.
Yeah.
I've always knew that I wanted to travel around the world and see how other people live and see what makes them click, what makes them operate. So, to answer your question, I like to work backwards because I like to find out. Most people say, I think from what I've heard is you book the airline tickets, you book the hotel. But what I actually like to do is, why are you going there? What's the purpose of the destination? So
start with that question. Why are you going there?
Are you going there? Is it a cultural trip? Is it a beach kind of, leisure
vacation
type trip? Are you going to Vegas? So, for example, if you're going somewhere, let's say exotic, let's say you want to go to India and you want to go see the Taj Mahal.
Right.
So you locate where the Taj Mahal is, and that's what I usually do. And then I work backwards in terms of the hotel and then the airfare.
Okay.
So I like you obviously, when you're going somewhere where you don't necessarily speak the language, where it's quite a divergence from your everyday comfort level, you want to find something close to your site.
Yeah.
Where, you can't necessarily rent a car out there. Transportation is a bit tricky because the language isn't in a language you're familiar with. You don't speak the language. So you want to find something that makes sense, maybe in walking distance, that is close in proximity. If you're going to Machu Picchu and you want to go see Machu Picchu itself. You obviously don't want to stay in Lima. You want to stay near where Machu Picchu is. So you have to research what are the accommodations available near that place, because Machu Picchu's on a hill.
Yeah.
It's not easily accessible by road. So you have to that's kind of how the thought process that I use to locate something. Same thing with, if you decide that you want to go to New York City, you want to see the Statue of Liberty, you don't want to stay in Harlem or in Brooklyn. So
you want to stay close to the place that you're actually visiting, or maybe like a central location where you can either walk around, maybe take a subway or something quick that's not going to be a huge ordeal to get to the place you're trying to get to.
You don't want to stress when you travel. We stress every day in our lives just trying to get through the daily grind. So why try to stress figuring things out, how to get places where you can just make things more convenient? Because to me, the essence of not only learning another culture or getting to see another place, but you're also on vacation.
Right.
And so you want to make things not necessarily as restrictive or as stressful. So you want to make things convenient. That's the way
Well, yeah, because when you travel, you want it to be fun. You want it to be exciting, adventurous. You don't want it to be a stress thing. And the more you plan ahead, the better it is that you will not be so stressed when you get there, because you've already put a few things in place, whether it's a tour guide, whether it's tours, you've booked train tickets ahead of time. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But I want you to tell us a little bit about why you are not a big fan of websites such as Expedia or Travelocity. Why are you not a big fan of those? And have you used them before?
Right. Well, I have used them before, but if you need to make changes, or I like to book things ahead of time. I don't ever book anything last minute. I can't recall that I ever did anything less than a month ahead of time. And the thing is, as you start booking, you start doing your research on social media, on Instagram, on TripAdvisor, on different platforms out there, different websites like JetSetter. And they kind of give you ideas of where to stay, what to do. And then you come across another idea. And then to make that change necessary on those websites is, I don't know, just more of an inconvenient kind of process than dealing directly with the accommodation themselves.
Okay.
If there's an issue with the price, if there's an issue, for example, we were just in Aspen, Colorado the other day, and we had to come back a day early because they had a hot water issue.
Right. There was a busted gas pipe.
Busted gas pipe, and the managers of hotels was letting everybody off the hook for a convenience thing. If you booked it through a third party, trying to get your money back is now 14-21 day process. I don't know how long.
It's not efficient. It's not easy.
You deal direct with the manager. He gives you the receipt, and they give you a refund in 24 to 40 hours, and you're done.
But aren't they supposed to be meant for them to make it easier for you as a traveler?
They're supposed to. What they do is they give you. This is one thing I do go to them is if I'm looking for a particular destination, I do go to bookings.com or hotels.com just to say I Google accommodations and Turks and Caicos. And it's easier to find the list of accommodations on those websites. And then I click on those accommodations that I like. And then I go directly to the hotel's website. I rarely find that it's ever cheaper going through bookings.com. Even the hotels kind of tell you they prefer that you don't go there. Obviously, they have to cut them a commission, for the reference.
Right.
And you can directly tell the accommodation, listen, I'm staying for an extra night. You seem to be doing 3 to 4 nights. If I stay a 5th night, can you give me a deal? And 9 times out of 10, the hotel will accommodate you. They'll match anything that you do, and they prefer that you deal directly with them. It just streamlines the entire process and makes it easier.
And a lot of times when you do mention to them, hey, I saw this special on certain things, they typically either match it, or they will throw in an amenity, or they'll throw in like a spa, or they'll throw in something, because they do want you to go through them.
The hotels have to use those mediums because all other hotels are using the mediums.
Right.
If you're not in the game, then you're out of the game, and then you may lose on some business. But they prefer, and they will tell you, and candidly, that they prefer that you directly book with them.
Right. And so one thing we also like to do is we find hotels depending on what we're doing.
Yes.
If we're going to be out and about visiting museums all day, we're not going to find a hotel that has a lot of amenities, because we really don't care about that. We're really only staying there.
Yes.
Not even for the dinners or their restaurants, because that's one thing I don't like, are usually their hotel restaurants. I don't think they're usually really good. They've gotten better over the years, but I don't like eating there. I like to try local restaurants, little places, maybe hole in the wall places.
Yeah, I mean, the hotel business is in the hospitality business. And of course, restaurants are part of the hospitality business, but really their focus is on the accommodation itself and the amenities and the location as well. Of course, restaurants are exactly that. They're in the restaurant business, so they're typically superior to what they do in the hotel, because the concentration on hotel is not just in the restaurant. The concentration on an accommodation is the entire package.
The whole thing.
So they can't focus just on the food side. Of course, there's some famous restaurants and some famous hotels around the world. There's always exceptions to the rule. But so if you're going to like a beach resort and there's not much to do in town, if you're going to some of those Caribbean islands.
Well, we were just in Holbox.
So
that
So
hotel really did make it for us.
So then you have to look at the amenities. What does the hotel have to offer inside the hotel or in the near vicinity? Because typically the towns don't have much to offer. If you go to a lot of Caribbean islands, these are a lot of countries that live off of tourism, but it's not really in the city. It's about the beach. It's about the hotel itself. Yeah. And so do you want a big pool? Do you want a spa that does well, that has great spa services?
It's like the Atlantis, right? There's nothing around there, but the Atlantis makes out for it because they have all the restaurants, all of the attractions, the waters,
the aquariums, all
the
that
whole water park. Yeah.
Exactly. But if you're going to somewhere, let's say in Shanghai, or you go to Tokyo, you don't necessarily need that bougie of a hotel. Yeah. Or not necessarily a bougie hotel. You just don't need a hotel that has a swimming pool, because you're going to be spending, like you had said, 90% of your day seeing the attractions in the city.
Yeah, you're out and about.
History, the culture, you're visiting you're out and about. So you kind of have to, depends on where you want to go. If you go to Machu Picchu, it's really just about what you're looking at, the ruin. The hotel there, when we were there about 10 years ago, they didn't really have much amenities, because they knew the concentration of that particular, or the business model of that hotel was really just the location, so you can get the visual of the ruin itself. So it really depends on where you're going and what you want to do.
Yeah, and that hotel wasn't very fancy or anything. It was just...
the rooms were extremely tiny.
So they were very small. And I think that's something...
But they had amazing views.
Exactly.
They situated that hotel, the location of that hotel was all about the views. Yeah.
So, that's part of the planning process. It's like, if you're going to be staying at a place where you're going to be doing a lot of walking, a lot of seeing, like, do you really want to stay? The other thing that you always consider is the size of the room.
Yes.
Because you want to make sure that it's a room that can accommodate all four of us, because we always travel the four of us. And we don't like getting separate rooms for the boys. We like for the boys to be with us the whole time.
Yeah, and that's kind of starting to where we're starting to see. We're starting to realize it's not working out as well, because the boys are now bigger. They're taking up more space. Right. But I'm also physically big guy, and the size of the room really depends on your personal preference. I like a lot of space. I'm willing to pay extra for a suite or a junior suite, just because I don't want to come back for two reasons. If you're in a beach destination or leisure type of vacation, where it's not a lot of activity, you don't want to be kind of crammed back into a small room. For me personally, because it kind of takes away from the whole psychology behind that kind of laid back kind of trip, right? Yeah. If you're going to a destination that the city is the attraction, or a ruin is an attraction, or some landmark is an attraction, you spend most of the day on your feet, or you spend most of your day tired. You come back, and then you come back to a small room. I just kind of like the space. I don't want to be crammed in there.
And I think we also discussed along the way, like 20 years of being together and being married, that I'm a big fan of the bed and breakfast places. Right. I really do enjoy waking up and having somebody there cook breakfast for us. That's not something you're really into, because you really like to have the whole hotel experience. Right. Whether you're going out for the pool, whether you're going out in, the pool bar. Like, I could give those up if I could just have more of a one-on-one with the person that leads the the little place or the little B&B. I really enjoy those.
Yeah, that's all personal preference. There's no right or wrong.
Yeah, and I think it depends on where you're going as well. Because when we go to Mexico, we really like those B&Bs, because they really do take care of you.
Right. You go to wine country. Those B&Bs are better.
They're really nice.
They're more
the hotels.
to the type of trip that you're taking.
Exactly. It just really depends on where you're going to be.
Yeah.
when we went to Italy, we found a lot of really great little places that were not big chain hotels, but the only thing is we had to carry our own luggage. But I mean, it just sort of makes up for the fact that it's super chic, little boutique type places. They take care of you a lot more. They, you know, try to make sure that you're happy. When we stayed at bigger, you know, hotels and like bigger chain hotels, whether it's the Marriott or when we stayed, oh my gosh, that's such a beautiful big place. The one in Tokyo. Andas.
Right.
Those are bigger chains, but those are beautiful and amazing. But you don't get that feeling of like, you know.
No, it's not a personal connection.
It's not a personal connection.
Right.
Exactly.
It's more impersonal in the chains. And that's why we like to do the mom and pop kind of resorts, the more localized resorts. You get a personal connection. You get better service. Typically, you're just not kind of a number. Even like in the Four Seasons,
they figure out your name
the Peninsula,
pretty quick.
They do great, but they do better jobs on if you get the mid-size or the small boutique hotels. They remember you. They want that great review. They want that great service. They do want you to review them.
Yeah. So, you know, sometimes let's go into something that other people always ask us about, and they always want to know, do you have like a certain day of the week where you think that there's cheaper flights, or there are times of the day where you can book a cheaper flight?
So I remember this from the travel agency days, and I don't really know how much that really applies to today, but back then, because now it's just we're kind of really working around our kids' school schedules.
Yeah.
But back then, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, if you flew on a Tuesday and came back on a Saturday, or flew on a Wednesday and came back on a Saturday, or any combination of Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, those are typically the days that the airlines gave you the best deals because they were the least traveled or the least amount of occupancy in a particular flight. So they were always a little bit cheaper. Of course, the Sundays and Fridays, Mondays as well, were more the higher peak travel days for travel. So you don't get them. But really the trick is not to wait till the last minute. It used to be 21 days was the best fare, but I think now that I've noticed 14 days is really just about the same. The only time really the price changes if you do under 7 days and you're doing like a quick trip, like a Monday to Thursday kind of deal. You typically pay a premium for a last minute deal. But on the international side, it really doesn't matter on the international side what days of the week you travel. What really matters is how many days in advance you travel, more so than on the domestic side. Okay. Because you can find a Tuesday flight for $1,200 to Europe, come back, 2 weeks for Tuesday, and you can find the same price on a Monday to Monday deal. When you go to the airline and you see that there's a difference on a Monday or Tuesday, that's not because on international flight that the Monday is a higher peak day. It's just that they already booked all the lower class fares on that particular airline. Okay. For that particular flight. So if you're flexible with your days and you can go the following Monday, maybe that block of class fare on that airline is still available and you can get it.
So basically, if you are looking at flights, is to try to plug in different dates and see what dates fit your budget better. And if you're flexible, definitely be flexible in the times to leave. I remember you said sometimes sometimes it's better when you leave late at night. It's like you want to do the red eye if it's something that's going to definitely bring it down.
That's more for the domestic flights.
Okay, for domestic flights.
International flights, it's usually once or twice a day. They kind of fly
There's
out
not that many options,
and you just fly at the time they fly. And they have to fly overnight anyway, so it's automatically ready.
And you mentioned something to me the other day as well. Like, when you travel to Europe, it's better to go to Europe when you're in a low season and it's not so busy, because you'll definitely get better deals. You'll get more discounts on hotels because it's just not that busy.
Well, it's if you're a budget traveler and if you don't mind the cold, because in Europe we know it's cold in the wintertime. Yeah. And if you go between that November to March area, obviously barring the holiday season, there's a premium for traveling during the holiday season. Not Thanksgiving to Europe, but over Christmas and the New Year's, they definitely charge you more. But if you don't mind the 30, 40 degree weather in Paris or London or in Italy, then it's definitely about a third of the price to travel at that time of the year than it is to travel in the summertime.
Wow.
So on the international flights, it's the same thing. You should really book your flights at least a month or two ahead of time minimum. I typically do 2 to 3 months. I like to plan out my entire year for traveling for the most part, at least 6 months ahead of time, and start researching where I want to go, what I want to do there. Like I said earlier in the podcast, start from the back and then work your way to the airline tickets. And then, it doesn't always work out exactly how you want it to work out. The airline, sometimes you do have to kind of make changes. But if you plan ahead of time, the airlines will follow what you want to do in terms of your scheduling on the flights.
Yeah.
Because you get there and then you kind of want to start doing stuff, right? You want to sit down and not do anything for a day or two. So you find out what you want to do, how long it takes to get to that destination, how many things you want to see, how much time it takes to do between each activity, how much each activity per day it takes.
Right.
And then find the hotels to accommodate it, and then find the airlines to accommodate all of it at the very end.
You mentioned activities. We love doing activities when we go to places. We're the type of family that doesn't stay at the hotel very much. We like to find things to do.
Right.
Rusk and I divide up the work, and I always go out looking for the restaurants, the nightlife. I look for the bars, the wineries, all of those places. And I typically go on Instagram to see, what's hashtagged the most and see where that was how I found this really, really great little place in Cabo. It's called the Flora and Fauna. It's like a tiny little place. It's an organic farm, and they have the most amazing food, little restaurant there, and also a skincare line. It's just such a great little place. But I found it because I was just following a few travel bloggers on Instagram, or I'll go on Pinterest and I'll look things up on Pinterest to see, what bloggers have shared, different places. If I was going, for example, that's how I found Holbox, was because I found a travel blogger that said and mentioned it. And then I was like, oh, let me go in there. Let me see what that's about. And we found the hotel through the blogger because she recommended the little hotel, La Casa de las Tortugas. And that was such a great little place. And I mean, sometimes you have to really go on the site, on the website, on either Pinterest or Instagram, and just do a lot of research and make sure that it's something that, fits your interests.
Right. And the Holbox is a perfect example of what we had just discussed, is that you found the location, then we found the hotel inside the location. Right. And now how do we get there? Right.
How do we get there? Yeah. So it's not easy to get in there.
So now you have to look at where Holbox is on the map. And it's like you realize it's close to Cancun. Yeah. So then you get on the airlines and you find out, obviously, being from Houston, we mostly fly United 9 times out of 10. Now you fly to Cancun, but how do you get from Cancun to Holbox? So then you have to get on other travel blogs or travel mediums to see what other people did that went before you.
So that's why you go to TripAdvisor.
I usually use 9 times out of 10. I use TripAdvisor. Right?
You do like TripAdvisor.
Right. And you just go to Holbox, you Google in Holbox, and then you'll typically find something that relates how somebody got there. And what I discovered was there's 2 options. You can take a shuttle that the resorts provide from Cancun, and it was a 2.5, 3 hour shuttle from Cancun through dirt roads through Holbox. But see, the key is how much inconvenience can you handle? Everybody has a different parameter, tolerance of inconvenience. Some people can rough it, and some people can't rough it. Yeah. We're unfortunately the people that can't rough it anymore.
Like to rough it
we used to rough it when we were a little younger, but now we kind of got spoiled and became bougie. Now we find the most convenient way to get to where we want to go as fast as possible. So I discovered there was local regional flights, little island hoppers, single engine Cessna planes that took you from Cancun directly at the international airport, that landed on a dirt strip that was 5 minutes of taxi time on a golf cart to the resort, right?
To the resort.
And that's how they have that. So it worked backwards. Found a destination, found the hotel, and then find out how to get there after that. Right. Because 9 times out of 10, the airline schedule will accommodate what you want to do. Not accommodate what you personally want to do, but you find a way to make it work.
And I think that's one of the reasons why we haven't yet gone to Montana. Right. It's because we want to go to Montana, but we haven't found the route or the way to get to where we want to go in Montana.
The way we like to do it.
The way we want to do it,
Some people will drive to Montana.
Yeah, and some people drive days to get to Montana.
we
don't want to do
that's
that.
not what, and that works for you. That's great. If that's how you like to travel, then go for it. There's no right or wrong way to do it.
There's no right or wrong.
But for example, you have to fly to Salt Lake, and then you have to fly to Big Sky, but then you want to get to some, off the beaten path little town in Montana, and then how do you get there, right? And then there's no regional plane that takes you there. Then you have to rent a car there. Then you look at the time distance that you have to get there. It's like 3.5 hours, and it's a lot of switchbacking through the Rocky Mountains. Yeah. So it's just.
And as much as we want to go glamping, we want to go glamping in Montana.
Yeah, right.
We still, haven't gotten around to that.
Right.
South of France is another place that we've always wanted to go, but we want to go to South of France when we feel like we can do it the right way, and we're still not there yet. Right. We still have our kids. We still have so many other things that we need to do before we get to that point. Right. And now that you're studying for your WSET and you're doing all of your wine tastings and your classes, I think now you will go there with a bigger appreciation for their French wine.
Yeah. And I'm glad I did it because
I love that.
It's extremely complex.
And I get to enjoy that too.
You get to
explore that as well.
And it makes it a lot easier for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about COVID traveling, because you and I have been doing some COVID traveling. When they opened the airports and the hotels, we did domestic flights. We couldn't go anywhere, international, because you didn't have your passport for a long time. You had sent it to have it renewed.
Right. No, so I sent it to have it renewed back.
And then they didn't open Europe for people and for Americans.
Right. No,
Mexico,
they didn't.
I think, was the only one.
I had sent it to have it renewed because we had a South Africa trip planned for July.
Last year.
It was about 2.5-3 weeks, including a pit stop in Germany on the way there.
Yeah.
And I had sent in my passport right around the time you kind of heard some ruminations about COVID. And then my passport got lost. Not in physically got lost. It it got backordered. So instead of the usual 6 to 8 weeks or 4 to 6 weeks, whatever it was back then, it took 4.5 months to get my passport back. And that kind of squeezed the time frame of when your deadline was to make a decision if you wanted to go to South Africa or not. But that didn't work out anyways because South Africa became permanently closed for the rest of the year. So it really made no difference.
Right.
But so what we ended up doing is that we ended up taking a lot of short domestic trips. Mexico is really a domestic trip. It's really the 51st state when it comes to traveling for the United States. Puerto Rico can be the 51st state as well, right?
Yeah.
And the inconveniences that we had come across, remember, it was going to go. We got to go back to, we're not the inconvenient travelers.
Yeah.
We're the convenient travelers. And if you're the inconvenient traveler, then and you can navigate your way through all the little nuances of changing planes, of maybe picking up your luggage and transferring to the plane. If that works for you and you're hardwired that way, the fair game.
Yeah, and we've done that before.
Right.
We just don't want to do it anymore.
Don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So you had to, for example, we were going to Hawaii in Thanksgiving for our 20-year anniversary, and they were very strict about the COVID testing.
Yeah.
And you had to jump through loopholes to get that done because they wanted a specific test. We had to make the appointment at Walgreens. Walgreens canceled the appointment literally the last minute, 72 hours before our flight.
Yes. Gosh.
We had to run around, find another test.
Find another place.
We ended up at CVS. Half the test on this 12-person family trip didn't have the results prior to arriving in Hawaii. And we don't know what to expect. We didn't know if they were going to turn us back. We didn't know how strict they were. We didn't know if they're going
to make us quarantine in the hotel.
If they're going to enforce that.
Room.
Luckily for us, we arrived late in the evening, and it just seemed like everybody was tired from the county, and they just kind of let us go through. They did check for negative results, but they weren't really checking it as thoroughly as they should have. And as not should have, as the impression that they were giving, they were checking it, so we made it through. Then we went to Aspen in Colorado, and they were requesting COVID testing there as well. And we decided to roll the dice. We said, we're not going to get the test. We'll just figure it out when we get there, because they were also mentioning, they also mentioned that you can get the test in the county there. So what that really tells you is you got to pick up on those little details. If they're telling you that you can get a test there, that means they're really not enforcing it. That's the underlying tones. That's the underdig that's coming out of that particular county, is because the complete opposite extreme is you must have the test prior to boarding the plane. And they're checking for the test before you board the plane. And if that wasn't the policy, check with the hotel, go to the county's websites, verify all that. And if the county's saying, well, just fill out this form, but if you don't have the results in time, it's okay, or you can just get a test there. That means that you really don't have to get the test. it's all about you personally, how you feel about the whole COVID protocol, right?
I was going to say, like, it really does depend on how you take the whole COVID protocol and how much you let it hold you back, or you say, it's fine, I'm going to go anyways.
It's purely personal.
Right.
It all depends on.
And I think a travel tip we can give them is something that you do a lot is you reach out to the hotels and ask the hotels directly. You either find the concierge or you go to the front desk and you say, can you tell me exactly how strict your COVID policy is? And if I need to have paperwork, what paperwork do I need? Like, you go over that. You don't just go through what the airline is telling you, and you don't go through what the hotel website is telling you. You call directly. And I think that's something that needs to be.
Yes. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the reviews that you must look at the reviews of what the travelers that had come before you, what they're saying. The hotel is going to give you the standard legal, yes, you must quarantine 14 days if you don't have your test. Yes, it is being enforced. But then you have to kind of ask the right question, the next question. Does that mean I can't?
Fabulous and classy are raging at the moment. Do you need a touch-up? Does your closet need an update? Or are you feeling a bit out of touch with the decades trends? Just shoot me a DM at think_chick and we'll plan out the perfect fashion strategy for you.
The next question. Does that mean I can't? Does that mean you'll let me check in, but can I make a reservation at the restaurant inside your hotel? And if they, oh yeah, you can make a reservation. So you're not really quarantined in the room, are you? Because if they're allowing you to make a reservation in their hotel without actually having a COVID test, that means they're just repeating verbatim what the county legally requires them to repeat. But they're not really enforcing.
Just for liability reasons, yeah. And just
that's just some inside information for those folks out there that listen to this and say, I really want to go somewhere, but I don't really know how strict it is. People that kind of like to roll the dice a little bit, want to get out of their shell after being quarantined really psychologically or mentally for the last 12 months of 2020, but think that it's probably worse out there than it really is. Our experience, it's not that bad, but that doesn't really mean that it's not bad wherever you want to go. That's just our experience.
Right.
So you should really do your research, but get on the reviews. TripAdvisor, you can just Google COVID requirements and you could find a plethora of reviews on Google reviews of people that have come before you.
Google reviews?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You can find it on there. You have to type in the correct keywords. And then you'll find a whole bunch of stuff on there that people will say, well, I went to this particular hotel, or I went to LA and they were really checking in LA. They're really penalizing you. They're going to give you $500 fine. You may be arrested. Stay away from that place. Yeah. Right. Go somewhere else.
That's a great tip.
Right. Stay away. There's a whole bunch of places you can go if you simply just want to get out of town.
And the thing I really want to address with COVID traveling, it's really up to you as a person, how comfortable you are with COVID traveling, because you are going to be on a plane with people. Yes, they do require that you wear a mask, but some people take it off. Some people don't even listen to it, or they they'll get on it, they'll put their mask on and then they take it off. Like, there's so many things that could happen. So how strict are you going to be about it, and how paranoid are you about it? I don't know if it's paranoia, or if it's
paranoia is personal.
It's
But I can tell you from our experience, and we've taken more domestic trips this year than I can remember.
No, domestic trips for sure.
Because we couldn't really go anywhere internationally. So on the domestic trips, it was strictly enforced. So that should give you a peace of mind that they are desanitizing the planes. I've seen it personally. They are giving you hand sanitizing wipes, and they'll give you more if you want. And you can wipe down your armrest, your tray table, your little monitor, your TV screen on the seat in front of you. You get to wipe down your hands, and they do enforce the masks. The flight attendants do walk up and down the aisles reminding you to put your masks on. It just seems like a clean environment to me.
And we haven't gotten sick.
We have not gotten sick.
Yeah.
We've taken, I think, 12 flights this year.
Yeah.
Not gotten sick once. And if it was not definitely from a flight.
Right.
And I don't remember anybody out there. I don't remember people sneezing on the plane. I think society personally is cleaner now than it's probably been ever.
Yeah, because everybody's doing the sanitizer.
Exactly. So it's now reduced the risk of getting sick.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that doesn't jive with what you hear in the media. That doesn't jive with what you hear in the statistics from the news. But everyone has their own personal anecdotal situation experience.
And you have to take the news and the and the statistics research it,
Right.
look it up, make sure that it's something you
really
want to
delve
risk.
into
And
it.
if you want to risk it,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
It is a risk you're taking. It's honestly a risk, and you are going to take a risk, and you're going to put yourself in risk. You're putting your kids at risk.
Right.
But you weigh the pros and the cons, and you look at the thing in a holistic way, which is what we always do. We never just look at it from like one point of view. We really look at things from multiple point of views. And then we both discuss it, because if I'm not comfortable traveling, we're not going anywhere. And if you're not comfortable traveling, we're not going anywhere. It's always we don't force anything on each other. We always say, hey, I want to go here. Let's try this here. Let's try that. And if there's a place that I don't feel comfortable going, because I don't know, to me, it feels like it's just too lax, or they're not taking this as seriously as I think they should.
Right.
Whatever it is, we're not going to go.
Yep.
I mean,
no, it's all personal preference.
It's a personal thing. Yeah. And I don't like it when people throw judgments at others for doing something that for them, honestly, it's what works for them.
Yes, right. It was what works for each other, for themselves. But you should always look at things from a nuanced perspective. Don't look at things holistically. Not all parts of the country have a wave of COVID sickness. There's pockets, different regions, and it comes and goes. New York was the first, and then New York subsided. Then now LA kind of sprung up. Houston was a little bit up there. Then it went down after the summer, and then it's kind of back up there. You really just have to do your own research, and you really just the best unbiased information is what you can find on people that have been there before, because they have no stake in the game. They're giving you unfiltered information. There's no gimmick. There's no monetary. They're not paying to.
Yeah, they're not getting paid. They're not being sponsored by anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And I think you had mentioned at the beginning, I just want to say, why choose a particular airline? I'm a stickler for loyalty. You're a stickler for loyalty.
Well. Yeah, I don't switch.
All the airlines are pretty much the same in terms of customer service. Some airlines you may have had bad experiences on. Some people didn't have bad experience on. We're in Houston. United Airlines has a hub in Houston. I like to stick with the same airline. Get a nonstop flight, and here's a couple reasons why. Is if you change planes, greater chance of your bags getting lost. Or if you have to change planes on a different airline, and your original flight is delayed, now you're stressed trying to make the second connection. Yeah. And then you have to deal with the bags on the second connection if you travel with bags and you don't take carry-on. It just makes things a little bit more complicating, and which goes back to my original point. When you're traveling for a vacation, for leisure, why stress out over making things complicated for yourself? Because at the end of the day, all the American airlines in terms of customer service overall are about the same. Delta, I know sometimes is ranked number one. Southwest was up there for a while, but everyone's had a bad experience at some point. They lost their bags. A flight was delayed. Flight was canceled. That's just a numbers game. It's just statistics. And I would just stick with United Airlines. It gets you to most places nonstop. Less chances of the things that I just mentioned happening.
Right. What is your prognostication on how we're going to be traveling in 2021?
Well, I think it'll be a little easier than 2020, but I don't think it'll be back to normal till 2022 or 2023, especially on the international side. I don't think. I think there's still a long way to go. I think the virus obviously hasn't subsided. The vaccine is being delayed. And there's a whole world out there, not just the United States. So, I mean, we got to get to some of the some of the favorite destinations that people visit: Europe, South America, Southeast Asia, China. That's going to probably take 2-3 years before things resume back to normal. Yeah.
So definitely, if you're looking to travel, reach out to those places directly. Reach out to their hotels directly and ask them questions.
Right. But you know what? This is now, if you have the balls to do it and you're not too worried about COVID, everything's cheap right now.
Everything is cheap, yeah.
I mean,
my parents went to Vegas for $500.
Yeah, they went to Vegas for $672. I booked it for
4 nights.
It was 3 nights, 4 days. That was air and hotel. Of course, that Vegas is kind of a little bit of an extreme, but But for most, I mean, just traveling just about anywhere in the United States is about maybe 25-30% less than it was before.
Yeah,
Hotels
so this
are available.
is a good opportunity
they want
for you
your
to take
business.
advantage of traveling.
You want something extra from a hotel? Ask them for it. You want an upgrade on the room when you get there? They'll be happy to accommodate you because they're not at full occupancy.
Yeah.
They want the good
and
review.
They want to stay afloat.
Those reviews are extremely powerful. They really sway the choice of where you stay. It's really important to read those reviews on TripAdvisor and to find out what they were doing. That review will go a long way. And if you find, and what I like to do is find accommodations that the hotel responds to previous guest reviews. Then you know they really care. Because if they're responding to those reviews, then you know you're going to get good customer service and they're on top of their game. They're paying attention to that stuff, and those are good places to stay at. And they're gonna bend over backwards more often than not to make you happy. Remember, it's as close to perfect market competition industry, the hospitality industry, as it possibly gets, because there's so many players out there. More often than not, in popular destinations, you should take advantage of it. Don't hesitate to ask for something else. They'll be glad to give it to you.
Yeah, especially right now when they really, really need the people to come to the hotels.
Yeah, just come up to the front desk and say, hey, listen, I got a 2-bedroom, but I got an extra kid here. I said, anyway, you can get a junior suite. You guys have anything available? And more often than not, they'll say, well, they may want to negotiate with you a little bit. They may give you a discount on it, but hell, you know, it doesn't hurt to ask. The worst thing is they just tell you no.
Do you negotiate a lot on prices for like at hotels and things? Like if you want something good, do you really negotiate it? If it's a high quality hotel, do you negotiate prices?
I don't negotiate the prices. I negotiate the size of the room or an amenity. If I know that I'm going not necessarily in the peak season. Typically when you go in the peak season, and you gotta have to kind of look that up. You just have to Google it and find out what's the peak season in a particular destination. They'll bend more often than not in a non-peak season situation. In peak season, when they're running 90-100% occupancy, they typically will not bend because they can easily fill up your room to the next person waiting in line. Yeah. So it doesn't always work out. It doesn't hurt to ask, but you don't really get to negotiate on the price on the hotel room unless they're absolutely desperate. And you'll know when they're desperate because that's when those booking.coms and hotel.coms come in handy, because they'll have those little free night or 20% off or 30% off if you stay an extra night or this. They're signaling to you that they're willing to negotiate. And that's when I go directly to the hotel and say, hey, listen, I want 3 days. I'm going to stay 4th day. Can you give me 50% off on the 4th day, or can you give me 4th night free? And they'll work with you, but you got to go directly to the hotel. Okay. It's just easier that way. Deal directly with them. They want your business.
You're right. So, again, if you are going to be traveling during COVID, call ahead of time the hotels. Ask them if the spas are open. If you want to do a spa, ask them what restaurants are open. Go on Instagram and see if you find a restaurant that you like. Reach out to them. Send them a DM, a direct message, and ask them, are you guys open through COVID? And if you are open, what is your reservation policy? Because they also have reservation policies, because some of them are only open for 50% occupancy. Some of them are not open at all, only for breakfast, or, you know, they are limiting the amount of reservations they're taking. So reach out to them, ask them. Some of them are updating constantly on their Instagram accounts, but you can't always trust that. So always send a message to them directly. And they've been pretty good with me to reach back out and say, yes, we are open. This is how you make a reservation. If you're on Open Table, make a reservation through there. If you're Resi, whatever it is, you're just call directly and make an appointment. We were in Aspen recently and we did a little igloo experience. And I only saw the igloo experience because they posted it on their Instagram. They don't have it anywhere else. They're not showing it anywhere else, only on Instagram. So when I reached out to them, they said, you have to call us and, you know, give us all your information, because we're only doing those igloo experience once a day. So, you know, you call them and you make the reservation, and you're going to be the person that's going to be able to get in for that one a day. So you have to always reach out to them one way or another. Always double double check. If you're going, for example, I'm going with a friend to Scottsdale and we want to do the whole spa experience in Scottsdale because Arizona is known for their spas. One thing we were very adamant about, it's like, we've got to make sure that the place we go to have an open spa.
Right.
Why? Because a lot of them have closed spas. They don't have an open spa because of COVID, or they're, very strict with it, whatever it is. Always you call ahead, you make sure that whatever you're looking for specifically, or you're going for something really special or a special restaurant, don't go to Vegas and then find out that your favorite restaurant is closed.
Right, sure.
A lot of them closed.
Yeah.
Check ahead of time. And some of them are not showing it up on Instagram or showing it up on their Facebook page. Don't assume anything. Always go in and check it out. All right. So I'm going to give you guys 5 packing hacks, or 5 things you should pack, because I find that they are really, really, really instrumental and essential when you're traveling, and just to kind of make your life less miserable sometimes. I'll tell you why, because there's one hack here that I'm going to tell you about that it just helped me so much. And it took me, maybe 10, 15 years until I finally found this. And I'll tell you guys about it. And Rusk knows what I'm going to tell you guys in a little bit, but I just wanted to mention that if you do have any questions, or you want to know a little bit more details about, our travels, how we get places, what deals we go for, if you trust, certain websites, I can tell you we've been around the block, and we used to, before COVID, we used to travel every 6 weeks. Now it's every maybe 2 months, maybe every 3 months, and that sort of thing. But I'm definitely here to give you guys some more travel deals and steals. So here are my five packing hacks, or 5 hacks that you should have that are essential for yourself. As we go off in our world in 2021, we see that the world is going to open up again, slowly but surely. Our vaccines are getting out. Things are going to change and things are going to open up, and you're going to want to be prepared. And so here are what I'm going to give you that you need to be prepared for. Number one thing that I definitely recommend is for you to go and get yourself some packing cubes. Packing cubes organize my clothes. I put in, like, for example, my dresses, my pants, my tops in one packing cube. I put my underwear, my bras in a different one. I'll put my shoes in a different cube. And it just keeps everything separate, and it keeps it organized. So when I travel, and sometimes Rusk and I share luggage, I put all of my stuff in the packing cube, and that way he doesn't even go through any of my things. He knows that those cubes have my stuff. And so I love, love, love packing cubes. And I got mine through Amazon. So if you ever need to get some, I think that's great. And they're very cheap, and they're super, super convenient and amazing to have. Packing hack number 2, always pack baby diaper wipes, because you're going to have situations where you may throw up and somebody needs to get cleaned, or you're going to have the situation where you go into a restroom in a place that doesn't have toilet paper, and those wipies are just amazing and just so great. And also, I like to wipe down after I eat. I like to wipe my hands down if I don't have access to a sink, or if, like, you're eating ice cream out and about on the street, those little wipies just come in so handy, and I love them. And I always pack a little pack of wipes. The third thing, and this is the thing that I discovered later on, was nausea medicine. If you can pack in maybe some Dramamine, if it's off the counter. I get a prescription from my doctor because my nausea is much more intense. After I had my babies, my nausea went to another level. So it helps me when I go on trips and we drive around maybe on the mountains, or we're at a very high elevation. It is so helpful. Or when I'm going on a very long flight and I know I'm going to get sick from the flight, I take that. I pack that, as well as like a Tylenol PM, because if you're going to sleep, take a Tylenol PM. Because we do a lot of overnight flights, and that really helps to get you to sleep if you need it. I think sleep is just so important when you're traveling, because it really helps you to kind of stay healthy through your travels. You have to make sure that you do that, and you pack your prescriptions. And for me, nausea medicine and Tylenol PM are those things that I always pack in terms of what I have in my my little baggie. My little medicine baggie. Russ knows that I have a medicine baggie with all of my stuff, whether it's Benadryl for allergies or, Tylenol, whatever it is, I have that. Okay, number 4, obviously, pack your alcohol sanitizers. They are everywhere, but I love to pack my own because I share it with everybody around me. And I'm like, hey, get a little bit of this, get a little bit. Sometimes you don't know who's not using the sanitizer. So I like to share my sanitizers, and just because that makes me feel comfortable that I have, the alcohol. And I guess it's just maybe more psychological than anything, but I feel like it does help. Number 5, and this is the last one, and I think this is a good one for you ladies, is pack panty liners. I know some of you ladies probably are not on your period when you're traveling. You don't need to be on your period when you're wearing your panty liners, but if you're going to be traveling long flights and you're sitting, you're going to get smelly and you're going to get sweaty. And that's a really, really great tip. Right, Rusk?
Yes.
I tell my boys that you guys are so lucky you guys are boys, because
Right.
y'all don't have to deal with some of the stuff we have to deal with. But those are my 5 packing hacks. This is really great for you guys to have. You will see a big difference because, like I said, sometimes you go to places, there's some toilet paper, sometimes you get really sick, just pop your little, a nausea medicine, and you just start to feel so much better. I've had situations where we've been in high elevations where I've been super sick, and that hasn't even helped, but at least it was something, But anyhow, those are our little travel deals and steals. I hope that you all share them with your friends. Please share the podcast with everyone. If you have the moment, please leave a review. Give us your feedback. Follow us at Vibes by Alicia on Instagram. Follow me at my Instagram account @_chick. We are just so excited to be able to just offer you guys so much information, so much, I guess, tips, ideas. We're going to be doing more travel stuff as we go along on the podcast. So if you want to know anything more specific, anything else, please feel free to let me know. I love you guys. See you next time.
Thanks again.